All right, let's wrap up this chapter with an introduction to acids and bases. You ever seen this before? This is a pH scale. Okay, this is the pH scale. What does it do? It describes whether a solution is going to be acidic or basic. What does the pH scale measure? Measures the hydrogen ion concentration in a solution. Measures hydrogen ions. What is a hydrogen ion? Well, you already know what ions are, right? It's a hydrogen atom, okay, with its nucleus here, that has one proton, positive charge, and let me make that a little more clear. There you go, a little bigger. Hydrogen atom, okay, that has a proton, because that's what the atomic number of hydrogen is one proton, and it has lost an electron. That's it. So technically, one hydrogen ion, okay, which is like that, that's a hydrogen ion. Okay, it's pretty much nothing but a proton. Now, why do we care much about this? We will talk a lot about hydrogen ions when we talk about electron transport chain. Okay, it has, when we talk about photosynthesis, cell respiration, there's part of the mechanism. There's something called the electron transport chain, which includes channels or pumps that are going to be pumping hydrogen ions. So you need to know this. These are going to be very, very famous. Okay. So in this case, okay, we are measuring the hydrogen ion concentration, and that really has to do with acids and bases. Okay, acids and bases. Um, from the scale from 0 to 4, so a pH scale has a scale from 0 to 4. 0 is most acidic. What does acidic means? Is going to have, okay, the highest hydrogen ion concentration. So that's what acidic mean. It has more and more hydrogen ions. Okay. A pH of 14 is going to be mostly basic. Okay. It's going to have the lowest hydrogen ion concentration. And 7 is neutral. That means there are going to be equal numbers of hydrogen ions and hydroxide ions. Okay, their concentrations are going to be equal. Each pH unit, okay, represents a tenfold change in the concentration of hydrogen ions. Let me explain this pH table or pH scale here. So something that is very, very acidic, okay, very, very acidic, is going to have a pH of 0. And this is going to make sure you understand this, because this could get a little confusing. The lower the pH, the more acidic. Let me draw that one more time. There's a reason why. There you go. The lower the pH, the more acidic. The more acidic, the greater concentration. I'm putting a C on C for concentration of hydrogen ions. Okay, simple as that. Okay, so the more acidic, the more hydrogen ions there is in a solution. Okay, and therefore the lower pH. Something, and you can see what does an acidic solution look like. Look at this picture over here. You have this glass of liquid solution, right? And you have how many hydrogen ions by themselves? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And you only have two hydroxides. Hydroxides are going to be these OHs, negative, okay? So you see how this solution has a huge amount of hydrogen ions, okay? That means its concentration is very high. That means it's very, very, very acidic, okay? And things that are very, very acidic, change my color. Okay, are things like, for example, battery acid that has a pH of 1, lemon juice, stomach acid. We'll talk about this when we talk about our stomach. Okay, the pH of our stomach is around a pH of 2. It's very, very acidic. Okay, grapefruit, pH of 3, black coffee, tomato juice around 5 and 4. Uh, Pure water, however, look at pure water, is going to have an equal concentration of hydrogen ions and hydroxide ions. And you can see here that you have 1, 2, 3, 4 hydrogen ions, and you have 4 hydroxide ions. You see how they're equal? Okay, this is going to be neutral. pH of 7 is considered neutral. Okay, neutral solution. And what happens as the concentration gets more basic? Okay, you end up having more hydrogen, more hydroxide ions. Okay, more OH ions, and less hydrogen ions. And because you have less and less and less hydrogen ions, that means it's going to be less acidic or more basic. Okay, and basic things we're talking about, for example, around 10 the milk of magnesia, household ammonia around 12, bleach around 13, oven cleaners about 14. So it's very, very, very basic stuff. Okay, again, remember, what we have to, let's just keep it simple. What we want to understand here in terms of acidity is, what does more acidic mean? It means there's a higher concentration of hydrogen ions. Okay, that's what more acidic means. And the more acidic, the lower the concentration. Now, let's just go here one more time. I just want to explain something else. The fact that it is tenfold change. So lemon juice has a pH of 2, right? pH of 2. If you compare same volumes of lemon juice or pH of 2 and the same volume of tomato juice, which is a pH of 4, the difference in concentration is going to be 100 times. Why? Because it's a tenfold change. Okay, so from 1 to 2, actually, since we're going downwards, a pH of 1, okay, is going to have 10 times more hydrogen ions than a pH of 2, right? A pH of 2 is going to have 10 times more hydrogen ions than a pH of 3, right? A pH of 4 is going to have 10 times, a grapefruit juice is going to have 10 times more hydrogen concentration than tomato juice of a pH of 4. Do you see how that is? As we go lower in the pH, as we go more acidic, okay, that concentration increases. Okay, so if we compare something, and I'll make this a different color. Actually, I'm gonna erase this really quick just to make my point. If you compare, okay, lemon juice with tomato juice being a pH of 4, so pH of 4 versus a pH of 2. What is the difference? Well, a pH of 2 is going to have 100 times more hydrogen ions than a pH of 4. Why? Because every single hop is by 10. It's tenfold. Okay? So it's not going to be 20. No, it's going to be 10 times 10. Does that make sense? What about if we compare a pH of 2 with a pH of 5, like black coffee? How many more hydrogen ions does a pH of 2 have compared to a pH of 5? Well, if it's 3 hops, that means it's 3, right? 300 times more, right? So it's it's 1,000 times more, right? 10 times 10 times 10, right? So a lemon juice has 1,000 times more hydrogen ions than black coffee that has a pH of 5. Okay, I hope that made sense. Quick definitions. What is an acid? Substances that release or add hydrogen ions to a solution. Okay, something that increases the hydrogen ion concentration. We already said that. Okay, the more acidic, the higher the concentration of hydrogen ions. Okay, HCl is going to be an acid. It's going to release a lot of hydrogen ions. Okay. And what is acidic? Anything that is smaller than 7 on the pH scale. What is a base? Those substances that release OH, hydroxide ions, into a solution or that decreases the hydrogen ion concentration. Okay, something that decreases hydrogen ion concentration. For example, NaOH, okay, sodium hydroxide. It releases hydrogen ions, which combines with hydrogen ions to form H2O. Because of that, okay, you are decreasing the concentration of hydrogen ions. Okay, so if you go here in my little pictures, we go what is an acid? An acid is like HCl, for example. You add it to water. What's going to happen is it's going to increase the hydrogen ion concentration. As you can see in my solution here, you're going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see a lot of hydrogen ions, right? Again, we increased the concentration of hydrogen ions. What happens over here? Well, over here, you're gonna find if you add a base, okay, you're not gonna see hydrogen ions. On the contrary, some of them are gonna be taken apart. What's gonna happen is if you have a hydrogen ion here and a hydrogen ion here, well, these two are gonna combine to make H2O. So you're gonna get rid of hydrogen ions. Okay, and it's going to become more and more basic. So again, a simple definition here, what we have to understand in terms of biological context is more acidic means an increase in hydrogen ion concentration. Okay, a base is going to be something that decreases the hydrogen ion concentration. Okay, simple as that. And last but not least, let me talk about buffers. What are buffers? Why are they important? Buffers are very, very, very important because they are substances that takes up or releases hydrogen ions. Okay, thus minimizing or resisting changes in pH. That's it. Okay, a substance that takes up or releases hydrogen ions, therefore minimizing or resisting changes in pH. In other words, a buffer is something that keeps the pH constant. Either donates hydrogen ions when depleted, or accepts hydrogen ions when in excess. Okay, and this is very important in our body because it's going to help our body stabilize its pH. Right? Your pH, for example, the pH of your blood is 7.4. If it goes up to 7.6 or 7.7, you're pretty much dead. Okay, if it goes down to 7.1, you're pretty much dead. Okay, so that's why we have a lot of, and you're going to see this throughout our system. If you ever take another higher level biology class, you'll see that buffers are very important maintaining your pH, okay, your body pH. Cells are extremely sensitive to hydrogen ions and hydroxide concentrations. Cells tolerate a small window of pHs, like I was telling you before. If we get more hydrogen ions in the solution, those hydrogen ions are then going to interact with proteins. And if that happens, then what happens to your protein? And this is why it's important to have buffers in your body. If your hydrogen ion concentration in your body increases, it can mess up with your proteins. And you will see from chapter 3 that proteins are very important. They do a lot of structural stuff in your body. They become enzymes in your body, and enzymes are important for chemical reactions. So what happens to these proteins? They start interacting with the hydrogen ions. They unfold. If they don't fold, they don't work anymore. There's a special word for unfolding. It's called denaturing. So for example, hydrogen ions can cause proteins to denature. They unfold, and in other words, they don't work anymore. And if proteins don't work anymore, then pretty much all chemical reactions won't be able to happen at the speed or the frequency that they need to happen in order to keep you alive.